Welcome back, guys. This is part 2 of Lisa and I recounting our 2-week travels, not vacation. It was definitely work and vacation, but our 2 weeks of traveling between D'Iberville, Mississippi for the Combatives Association Summit, all the way to Lawrence, South Carolina in the middle of a hurricane. So if you're here, welcome. If you've yet to listen to part 1, I highly recommend you go check that out first. Otherwise, let's get into it. You're listening to She Shield, your one-stop pod for all topics personal safety. I'm your host, Sophia, and my goal is to help educate women and men on concealed carry, martial arts, and all topics self-defense. Before we start today, guys, please take a moment to rate the podcast. If this is your first episode, welcome. So happy you're here. I think about 55 of you have left a review on Spotify. It just helps us get out there, guys, to more people. I work so hard to get these hosts on to talk about their expertise and to get them some recognition and some exposure. So please help me in my mission to do that. I truly appreciate it. This episode is sponsored by Big Tex Ordnance, your soon-to-be favorite retailer for all of your firearms needs. BTO believes in only selling high-quality gear for responsibly armed citizens, as well as providing pre- and post-sale support. BTO values firearms training and supports firearms instructors nationwide. They even pay for their own staff to train with high-level instructors to ensure that when you as the consumer reach out, you are taken care of. Like I said, this is part 2, so we have Lisa Hamilton on the show. We just recorded part 1 a few minutes ago, so we're here for it. We're excited to be here. And if you want to see the full version of this episode on video, head over to YouTube. We post the full version of all episodes on there, so check that out. And of course, Lisa does all of those amazing highlights you see on all of the short form platforms like Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, Livefire, all of those. So, you still doing okay, Lisa?
I'm doing amazing, Sophia. How are you doing?
I'm doing amazing. Mildly sweating, still drinking coffee, even though it's 6:31 p.m. But we're good. I've got a 2-hour drive home later, so I think we'll be pretty good. Lisa, amazing. What did we do after D'Iberville? Should we tell?
Which part? Like straight from D'Iberville?
Okay, honestly, I say we share that part. I think it was pretty magical.
So we impulsively decided, since, I don't know if you knew this, but D'Iberville, Mississippi is only about an hour and a half away from New Orleans, Louisiana. New Orleans. I have been to New Orleans quite a few times, but my dear bestie Sophia has not. So we just hopped right on over to New Orleans to do some New Orleans things. What would you like to share about our lovely little experience over there?
Absolutely. So we actually made a friend. We'll keep him anonymous since he's got no social footprint, and I want to respect that. We made a friend. He is a police officer. We'll keep the location anonymous, but
he is a police officer. I double-checked his identification.
She sure did, guys. We were out to eat, and she was like, "Show me that ID," and he was like, "Yeah, sure." Pulls it out. So
he's probably a police officer, but he could have been a serial killer. You know?
Exactly. And like, we can't get murdered on this trip. How stupid would that look in the news? Like,
it would look terrible. Girls on trip to self-defense summit get murdered
before their tactical games competition. Like, come on. So lame. So we ended up, of course, interviewing him. Just kidding. So, no, we really did, though. Lisa did pull his ID. So this guy was like, "Hey, I'm going to New Orleans." And we were like, "Can we go? Can we go with you? How cool. Let's do this together." So we went as a group, which really was a great safety technique. It was actually nice to walk around with a man. I think that was good for us because we did enjoy our time. We went to Bourbon Street. We investigated a few bars, so we had some fun. And got to dance a little bit and have the kind of comfort of having a third party there being on our side when it comes to the crime that is there. And he's a very kind of protector-minded person. So that was really nice to have that. We made a good friend, some incredible memories there. Got to eat some really great food and go to vampire cafes. What? Do you want to talk about that really quick for people who don't know about that?
Guys, I drank, raspberry lemonade out of a blood bag.
Yeah, you did.
It was super cool.
She sure did.
If this ends up being a short or something, I'll stick a photo in there, but
do it.
It was pretty nifty. And When you go to the Vampire Cafe, you get a little card, kind of like a scavenger hunt of vampire cafes. So they basically send you around town to all the vampire cafes, and you get these cards to get you into the vampire speakeasies. So it's pretty cool. It's a fun little, if you like vampires, you know, and you want to see some cool places, I highly recommend. It was kind of funny because we were looking for the speakeasy, and you know, it led us to this courtyard somewhere, and we're like looking behind curtains and stuff, probably in areas where we shouldn't be going.
Yeah.
And the guy who's letting people into the speakeasy is like, "Don't look behind there. What are you doing?" And we're like,
Yeah.
"I'm sorry. We're hunting for a speakeasy."
Yeah.
He goes, "Does the card say to look behind the curtain?" I was like, "Jeez."
Right.
The guy was grumpy.
The card said, look for a vampire. And it's like, dude, you're just an asshole. Like, I didn't know that you were also a vampire.
You're not a vampire.
No, but for real, he definitely yelled at the guy with us. Yeah, for real. No, but that was so cool. We talked about how it was like Vampire Diaries a little bit. Definitely felt like that. I've always had an appreciation for vampires, and so has Lisa. And it's October. It's spooky season. So, whoop, whoop. Of course, we went, you know, September, but still worth it. Amazing. Want to go back when it's a little colder, because it was hot. But we managed. We went. We YOLO'd it. We really said YOLO, and we went. So, yeah, it was great. Only spent about a day and a half there. So that was an adventure. And then I looked at Lisa and I said, "Lisa, I really need to do some work on my phone. Do you think that you could drive us to South Carolina?" And she was like, "Yeah, I got it." And so I'm sitting in my car. Lisa's driving. I have a hat on. I'm basically like staring at my screen like this. And then at some point I fall asleep. I wake up a few times when we're braking really hard. And it's kind of like raining, I think, a few times when I wake up. But I'm too tired, so I fall back asleep. Lisa, what was your experience like driving us into South Carolina?
She says, "It's kind of raining a little bit, I think, when I wake up." It was dumping buckets the whole way. And I'm like white knuckle gripping the steering wheel, trying to not die. And I could see basically nothing, but, you know, I was determined. We had to compete in the tactical games. It was a big deal.
And it hadn't been canceled. We were kind of just like, well, okay.
We're like, well, if it hasn't been canceled, I guess we're going to go and do our best.
It must be safe.
It must be safe. I mean, they haven't canceled it. So I just kept driving. Like Dory says, keep on swimming. I just kept on driving through the water. There were points along the ride. I think you were either editing or asleep, but there were points when everybody would just pull over on the freeway, like parked in a line in the rightmost lane with their hazards on, just sitting there because they couldn't see well enough to continue driving. And I was like, "Psh, I got this, more room for me," and just kept on driving right through.
My God.
We passed maybe 4 or 5 pretty horrific accidents. One of them, I can't say for certain that it was the same person, but we're giggling about this. We did our best to be very careful. You know, I was driving probably 30 miles under the speed limit the whole way. I was going slow, keeping my distance, you know. But at one point, this truck, I forget what make and model, but the same make and model truck that flew past me on the freeway earlier, you know, we're all driving slow, trying to be safe. It's pouring rain. This truck flies by, like, probably going 30 over the speed limit in this kind of weather. I don't know for facts that it was the same truck, but, you know, 30 minutes later, several miles down the road, there's a horrible accident. Traffic is completely stopped. We're all going around it. It was the same make and model truck, and, you know, it's horrible. Drive safe. Don't zoom around people in hazardous weather. Don't be that person, because
absolutely,
you know, it's dangerous. But anyway, eventually we ended up in Lawrence, South Carolina, at our Airbnb. And when we got there, it was still pretty darn windy and pretty darn rainy, but
it was manageable. I was kind of like, oh, my stuff is going to get a little wet. And you're like, it's fine. It's not that big of a walk. And I was like, oh, right. So we get inside. We're excited to see everything in the daylight because we booked this really pretty Airbnb on the lake. You know, it's literally, I think the title was like Lakefront Airbnb. So Lisa and I unpack. We get into bed. We're like, cool. You know, we got this. We sign up for the tune-up, for the Tactical Games tune-up in the morning so that we can make sure our optics are sighted in. My optic had died, so I needed to replace the battery. You know, it's starting to get serious. We're setting out our outfits. And then we wake up in the morning and it's so quiet. It's almost like the power went out.
Are you searching for a brand you can trust when it comes to shooting and gun care products? Look no further than Birchwood Casey. Since 1948, serious shooters, avid collectors, and professional gunsmiths have relied on Birchwood Casey. They've been in the game for over 70 years, providing us with products that have stood the test of time. From their legendary True Oil gunstock finish to the dependable Perma Blue, Birchwood Casey's commitment to quality is unmatched. Birchwood Casey has also revolutionized the way we train and improve our shooting skills with their innovative Shoot NC targets. These targets let you see your shots instantly, making it easier than ever to track your progress and become a better marksman. Head over to birchwoodcasey.com today and discover the products that have earned the trust of shooters worldwide. And use code SHESHIELD20 to save 20% on your order and to support the podcast. Again, that's SHESHIELD20, SHESHIELD 20 at checkout. Happy shooting.
And that's because the power did go out. Throughout the night, I was actually hearing things, which is saying something because I'm a really good sleeper. I will sleep, yeah, you can confirm. I will sleep through just about anything. If I were in the Purge movies with those really insane sirens that go off, I could sleep through that, no problem. But the wind was so loud overnight, and there was big loud sounds, which we now know after waking up were trees falling.
Oh my gosh, that was so funny because I was like, dude, did you hear that? And you were like, I think it was a chair. There was a chair that had toppled over, but it turned out to be a tree that had just huge tree that had just fallen. And if we make a short of this, Lisa, we think we have pictures of it. We'll pop it on. Wow. And if it had fallen in the opposite direction, it would have fallen on the car.
And maybe on us in the house, depending on how sturdy the roof was.
Yeah. So that was kind of wild. And guys, while we're making light of this as an entertaining story, we learned a lot from this trip, and we'll talk about that. We're not trying to advertise that anyone drive into a hurricane. I think Lisa and I are unfortunately both type A, and when we have a goal, we tend to not give that goal up until we have completed that goal. So anyway, yes, the tree had fallen over.
And plug, if you have anything that you can donate to hurricane relief, if you Google Hurricane Helene donation centers in your areas, they are collecting supplies in just about every city. I know they are in mine. I stopped by yesterday, and they're airlifting supplies over to help victims of the hurricane. So as we talk about all this horribleness that we saw firsthand and were lucky enough to just be there visiting, and it wasn't our homes getting destroyed. If you've got things, warm clothes, they usually have supply lists at the donation centers. See if you can donate anything. It is truly crazy out there.
Absolutely. There's some crazy footage of the flooding and people losing everything they own. And we will link that in the show notes. So if you just want to scroll down to the notes below the podcast title, you can access that link directly from there.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so we woke up on the day of the tune-up and we did not have any power, which, you know, isn't terrible at that time of the day. The sun's out, so we could see. We thought, you know, it's fine. We're just gonna get dressed, grab our gear, and head to the tune-up. So we hop in Sophia's 4Runner and we hit the road. And what did we encounter?
We encountered downed power lines, downed trees, and guys, like, at first we kind of were giggling. We were like, ooh, this path is not possible anymore. At one point, it was just kind of like a fallen power line that was almost directly touching the ground. So we were like, okay, we can drive over this. And so Lisa pops out and walks down this path and sees that there are, like, how many trees? Was it 2?
There was at least two more past the one that we could have made it over. There was at least two more giant trees that we could not get around, because if you think about the road was, ground level, and then there was kind of these banks or berms on either side of the road where the trees were growing. So one tree had fallen from the left, one had fallen from the right, and there was just no way that you could get around them. And as there were a few exits to this neighborhood that we were staying in, as most neighborhoods have a few entrances and exits, but it soon became clear that every single exit was blocked by downed trees or power lines or both, and we really had no way out.
Absolutely. So, and we definitely got back to the Airbnb, noticed that the water was extremely restless, and from what we perceived, it was rising. The lake levels were rising. So Lisa and I had this moment of like, oh, this is actually pretty serious. Let's go take a nap. So we went back into the Airbnb.
If we wake up underwater, we really had nowhere to go. So
So it's really, no, it really wasn't like that. We went back into the Airbnb. Lisa had better reception on her phone. We were able to get into contact with the Airbnb host, who let us know that the water levels of the lake were actually controlled. We were very fortunate for that. They had asked us to check on the pontoon boat that was on their dock, because apparently there was this massive buildup of pontoon boats and just lake boats that had built up from the destruction of the hurricane and the winds. So that was kind of wild. We were able to communicate with them and let them know that their boat happened to be okay. They owned the adjacent property and had, of course, that tree fell and had actually hit the roof of one of their property, one of the houses on the property. So that was kind of wild. Lisa and I were just exhausted from, the week before traveling, training. So we were told, we were safe enough to just stay there, and we rested. And actually, guys, for how bad it was for other people, like, we really did have it good. Like, we had some food in the car. We had weapons to protect ourselves from people if needed. We had security, the house still locked. We had water. We actually had running water. Not that we had to actually drink that. We ended up, I had enough actually stored water in the car as backup, but we used the sink water to, we had a Brita, and we used the Brita, and it really wasn't that bad. And we were able to nap and hang out and share super dark secrets and stuff like that in the quiet. And then we were promptly told that the tactical games got rescheduled. We ended up meeting a few people that were staying near us in an Airbnb that were also there for the tactical games. I don't know if you want to talk about that.
I would love to talk about this. Yeah, so, what are the odds, I guess there's a lot of tactical games athletes staying in Airbnbs. But anyway, the Airbnb a couple houses down from ours was also a man competing in the tactical games, and his wife. Bam. And unfortunately, we had to break the news to him that the tactical games were canceled because he didn't have as good cell reception as
no one did, but you, girl. You had the best cell reception.
Guys, it's visible by Verizon. $15 a month.
Wild.
You can't beat that. And apparently it works well in hurricane areas, but I digress. This man came over, and he knocked on our door. I think our Airbnb host had run into him because he was trying to help them clear trees. They were out there with chainsaws trying to cut trees down that were blocking the road. And so he had come over. We had to tell him that the tactical games had in fact been canceled. And this poor guy, he was wonderful. He had a plan, though, which I have to tell you about because
Lisa loves the story. It's so cool.
It's amazing. The dedication. He had walked a few miles from where the Airbnb was to the highway.
Him and his wife, right? Didn't they go together?
With his wife, yeah. They hit the road. They walked to check out the area and see like, okay, the highways are clear. So he figured he was going to haul all his gear. They were going to walk from the Airbnb a few miles to the highway and then call an Uber to meet them at that point on the highway to take him and his gear to get to tactical games so that he wouldn't be late for registration. And he's telling us this story. Did he tell us it before we told him it was canceled? I think he was telling us this plan.
No, it was after.
It was right after.
Because he was like, dang it, I had a plan.
I was like, wow. He was really about to just do the most to get to this tactical games registration.
If he wanted to, he would, guys. If he wanted to, he would.
If he wanted to, he would. So that was funny. And Sophia and I were just like, well, guess we can't go, you know?
Right. We were like, the trees are in the way. You know, because actually Lisa and I had a heart to heart. We were just like, dude, you know, it wouldn't be the worst thing if this thing gets canceled, because we did not have the prep time that we thought we would have. We both had some personal things going on. I mentioned on a previous episode that if you want to find out why, go search for it. Go listen to that episode. Just kidding. Just kidding. But yeah, no, we had some personal things happen that kind of took away from our bandwidth to be able to prepare. So we're actually looking forward to having some more time to prepare. But before we get into that, I'd love to kind of mention what we did after this. We contacted a friend in North Carolina, Eliza. She's the best. Do you mind pulling up her handle on Instagram? Because I don't actually know her handle off the top of my head.
Eliza Brooke, but
yes,
I want to double check to make sure.
Yes, please do. She's a good friend of ours. She works a bit with Mike Hughes of Cert Pistols and is starting her instructional career with firearms. She's very dedicated. Very versatile with her background in jiu-jitsu. She's a brown belt, which is no easy thing to acquire. So yeah, do you have that handle available?
I do. Yep, it is at the Eliza Brooke, and Brooke is spelled with an E at the end, so it's the THE Eliza ELIZA Brooke BROOKE.
Yes, and she is the she's just incredible. Not only an incredible friend, but someone who I think is going to make some strides in this industry for women's self-defense, women's firearms instruction. And it's so fun. Lisa and I are both like 5'10", and Eliza's like, what is she, like 5'11", almost 6 feet tall.
At least.
So
yeah.
like when we all went out together, people were like, their heads were turning. It was so funny. And I heard so many people be like, damn, they're tall. It was hilarious. So we got to experience Charlotte, North Carolina with her.
We walked by. They were like, that's a whole grove of trees.
No shit, dude. Yes. I didn't hear that. Wait, what was the other guy? The other guy was like, are you guys part of a singing group or something? What did he say?
Oh yeah. He's like, are you guys a group of singers? And then what was that guy that came up to us and was like, just so you know, even though y'all are tall, you're still beautiful.
Mother effer.
What a backhanded compliment.
Dude, how did we miss Nashville? We skipped over Nashville.
We skipped... we haven't been to Nashville yet?
No, we skipped over Nashville in the story.
I know, like in the story.
How did we do that? So I apologize, guys. This was, I think it's because we already posted about it on social media, so we think we covered it already. We got to hang out with Lena Michalik in Nashville and take her out in the city. Lisa got to take us out in the city and go party. That was so much fun. Oh my gosh. She got recognized at a club, and that was hilarious. Oh, you know why we think we already told it? Because we have an episode out with Lena and I talking about this.
We do have an episode out, episode 105, yes. If you want to go check it out.
5.
Watch the episode, watch our shorts on social media. It was a great episode, filmed live here in my apartment in Nashville.
Oh, so much fun. So yeah, if you actually, I'm not even going to talk about it anymore. If you haven't listened to that episode, go check it out. Lena, we got to kind of recount the story with her. That's why I thought we covered it. No sweat. Okay, so wonderful. We went to Charlotte. We got to experience North Carolina. It was amazing.
Just to clarify, we went to Iberville, Mississippi, New Orleans, got back from New Orleans, hit Nashville with Lena, then we headed to South Carolina, and now we are in Charlotte with Eliza. Continue.
Yes, exactly. No, wonderful. That was a perfect recount. I absolutely love a good conclusion. And then we drove back to Nashville, dropped Lisa off, and then I drove back to Arkansas, where I am currently residing when I am in town. So yeah, guys, that was our trip. It was crazy. We're excited because we have this extra prep time for the tactical games. We plan to do another episode on our gear loadout. We are going to have an honorary mention to the 511. Why did I say it like that? To 511.
511.
They have supported Lisa and I's tactical games journey by supplying us with everything from our plate carriers to our AR mags, our pistol mag holders, to what else, Lisa? Our
battle belts. They sent us sandbags to train, to lift and drag and work out with. So, I mean,
yes.
Just awesome people, awesome company.
Everything we could possibly need. And I told them straight up, I was like, this is our first tactical games. We don't know what to expect. We're going to be very novice level, and they were all about it. So thank you so much to 511. We really appreciate you, and we'll continue to sing your praises. And of course, like I mentioned, BTO is a sponsor of the podcast. They also sponsored my Vortex Razor LPVO. I'm very, very thankful for that as well. Thank you so much, Big Tex Ordnance. Guys, this is the end of the episode. We are excited to keep you posted for our plans for the tactical games in 2025. We hope that you enjoyed this recount of our travels and our near-death experience. Of course, I say that lightly. Some people had true near-death experiences, had actual, death as a result of the hurricane. Yeah. So if you are willing to give, like Lisa said, we'll link the donation link in the show notes. Thank you all so much for listening and supporting the podcast. Lisa, is there anything else you want to say before we end this episode?
No, I think we covered a lot of things. I would encourage you, if you have not started some sort of car preparedness kit or natural disaster preparation kit, based on where you live, if you're in a hurricane area, get yourself a hurricane preparedness kit. If you're over in California, maybe it looks like natural fires or earthquakes, or if you're here in the South where I am, maybe it looks like a tornado kit. But if you don't have some sort of natural disaster preparedness kit, I would really encourage you to look into making one of those. Do you have anything to add?
I do not know. And yes, the natural disaster kit is real. Luckily, we had a great car emergency kit because I'm paranoid about that. But I took my bug out bag out of the car to fit all the tactical games gear. So like my beef jerky, my like fire starter, not in the car. So I'm in the process of building out my 4Runner right now. I'm working with Backwoods Adventures out of Arkansas and OZK Van Mods. I am trying to prepare an overlanding vehicle. I just added an EMP shield. I added rock sliders. I added some extra security inside the car when it comes to recording security cameras and stuff. So building that car out to be a little bit more rugged for this type of trip in the future. Stealthy? No. I confused the word rugged and stealthy, and we were driving and I was like, thank God my car is so stealthy. And Lisa
was like, your car is blue.
Dude, you got so quiet, and I was like, did she hear me? And you were like, Sophia, your car is like the least stealthy car. And I was like, dude, it's a TRD Pro. And she was like, what do you think stealthy means? And I was like rugged. And she was like, that's just rugged. Just say rugged. You were so nice about it, though. It was hilarious.
We had been traveling for such a long time. We were so sleep deprived and caffeine deprived.
Absolutely. Oh my gosh, guys. It's like we didn't write anything down for this episode. I also got to go film some content with Classic Firearms. Woo! They are going to release that content soon on their YouTube channel. They've got quite the following on there and quite the system going. And Lisa got to hang out with us. We all got to chill together. She helped me record some content.
Such awesome people.
Such great people, and really just the balance between entertainment and education that they've been able to strike is really, really great. And just some really respectful men. So that was a really fun adventure to take on our way back home, and was actually our initial reason for visiting Charlotte. And then Eliza coordinated with us. We got to stay with her and hang out with her. And it was the perfect ending to the trip. So anyway, with that said, thank you guys for listening so much. Make sure to watch the highlights that Lisa has made at She Shield Pod on all major short form platforms like Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, TikTok, Livefire, and so on. A the long form video of this will be available on YouTube. Sorry, I forgot to speak English. If you like the podcast, you can help by liking, subscribing, and leaving a review. I think my brain shuts off when you're around me, Lisa. If you or anyone you know is a firearms owner experiencing a crisis, look into holdmyguns.org. They are an organization that will help connect you with a local gun shop or FFL to store your firearm for you. The link to access their website to find a storage location partner is available in the show notes. Thank you for listening. In the meantime, stay safe.
And stay vigilant.
Bye.
Attention all knife enthusiasts. Today's episode is sponsored by the one and only Cold Steel Knives. For over 3 decades, Cold Steel has been leading the way in the knife industry, dedicated to creating the world's strongest and sharpest blades. They've pioneered countless innovations that have become industry hallmarks of quality and sophistication, from their revolutionary checked Kraton handles to the iconic Tonto point blade systems. Cold Steel's progressive accomplishments have set new standards in the field. Their trademark triad locking mechanism remains unrivaled by any of their competitors, proving its unbeatable performance time and time again. Their impressive lineup goes beyond just knives. They offer swords, tomahawks, machetes, cutlery, and a wide range of tools for everyday carry. Trusted by military, law enforcement, emergency services, self-defense professionals, and martial arts practitioners, Cold Steel is renowned for quality, strength, reliability, and dependability. Where strength, safety, and performance come together for over 3 decades and counting. Use code SHESHIELD20, that's SHESHIELD 20, again, SHESHIELD20 at checkout.